Time to get your fix. It's the Horrible Gaming Awards. With Zachariah, a tiny wizard, and Phil Billy too. We're getting down with the foundation. It's what we're gonna do, yeah! Horrible Gaming Awards.
Best multiplayer experience for
Ladies and gentlemen, Horrible Game Awards going down. Triforce complete as I speak to you right now. That means all three members of the foundation are here right now. And this is a special award because the big three we always save for us. So right now I'm going to announce my co-host, which is
Anil, aka Tiny Wizard.
And we've got a special presenter. He is the Buildmaster General. He is the one and only. I don't know what to say after that, but he's the one and only Roswell, the one and only Nella Stonehand. This is what you get with no rehearsing. Phil Billy 330, you're presenting this award, sir.
I am indeed.
Every year you present this one, and Neil presents single player, which I think is a good tradition to keep going. But it's been an interesting year for multiplayer. We've got some interesting nominations.
It's a very different list than our usual multiplayer shooters and stuff.
It is. So why don't you go ahead and say the nominations, and then we'll get into talking about.
Yeah, so our 2023 Old Man Gaming Multiplayer Game of the Year nominees are as follows: Baldur's Gate 3, Warhammer Darktide, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Dead Island 2.
All right. So you're obviously our celebrity guest presenter at this very moment. So why don't we hear your thoughts first on all four of these?
So I don't even really know exactly what Dead Island 2 is. I don't think. So I will submit to you two on that one. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre obviously is your, what are those called? Not isometric. Is it isometric?
They're asymmetric. Hey, you were close. Asymmetrical.
Asymmetrical horror competitive killer game. I haven't played it. I know there was a lot of crappy stuff that happened with that game, though, as far as cheating and people hacking it and stuff. Darktide is pretty classic for this this award nominee, as far as the fact that it's, your run and gun mission shooter type game. Seems pretty cool. Good music. And then obviously the one I have the most experience with would be Baldur's Gate 3, which is an odd one to me to make this list. I should not this list, but for this particular award, because I tend to think of Baldur's Gate 3 as a single player, narrative RPG or CRPG, but they have done something very interesting with this game in that the multiplayer works very well. I'm sure Neil would argue just because he's playing it differently in split screen, but as far as the online multiplayer, it works very well, and it gives you the cool thing about it that I think is what makes it viable for this category is how it gives you the ability to, we could all three play this game together, and in theory our characters could never even do the same mission at the same time ever if we wanted to play that way. And the only time our characters would actually be seen in the same scene would be in cutscenes, between acts and stuff. So yeah, I think that is pretty cool about Baldur's Gate. And again, I'm kind of talking, out my butt with the other three, so I will defer to you guys.
This is the channel of talking out your butt, though. In fairness, Neil, why don't you go next?
So I'm actually going to echo some of what you said, Phil, because, honestly, about Baldur's Gate. So Baldur's Gate was one that I never would have anticipated being on this list, because whenever, I first heard of Baldur's Gate, I was like, oh, a traditional RPG. Those things are like never multiplayer. Well, guess what? Surprise. They did that thing that we really wish developers would do with games more. And wouldn't it be cool if this had a multiplayer mode? Like, I could bring my custom made character in and replace one of the party members. Sure enough, they did it. I will say a little bit to your point. My multiplayer experience on split screen has been a little bit different. In fact, we had a little bit of a panic the other day because there was an update in the middle of the game and it acted like it corrupted our save file. And that was about, at this point, 15 hours, 20 hours, something like that. That I had thought that I was going to lose, and I definitely was going to. I would have actively sobbed. But bugs and glitchiness aside with that one, that's one of the things, it's such an amazing game as a whole. And oh, by the way, it has multiplayer, couch co-op, as well as online multiplayer. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Now, when we do look at the other ones here, Texas Chainsaw, of course, I don't have any experience with. Warhammer Dark Tide, I don't have any experience with. While I did not play Dead Island 2, I'm astounded that it's real. I think that got announced back in, what was that, 2017?
2016.
2016.
It was like 10 years in development or something.
And sure as goddamn shit, it actually came out, 3 developers later, but it came out. It's the fact that it does exist. I don't know if that's necessarily speaking to the merits of the game and the multiplayer, but the fact that it exists is stunning.
Well, that it exists and it's decent. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. Continue.
No, you're fine, because I didn't have much else to say about it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll jump in. I think I have the most experience with the most of the nominees here. Baldur's Gate, I want to say a couple of quick things on it because I think you guys both covered just about everything there is to it. I think the thing about Baldur's Gate is it does something in multiplayer that I don't know of any other game ever doing. Like, ever. Where you can play a single-player narrative game at the same time with somebody else and have completely, like I'm going to talk to this guy, maybe you even hear that, maybe you don't, maybe you talk to that person, like, you can romance 2 different people. That level is just never been done. It's never been done to my knowledge in a game in this way. I mean, hell, I don't have any games where I don't have 2 created characters, and I switch back and forth between them so I can get even more story that way. Because you could just start up a game with a second controller in, then disconnect that game, that character's in there, and the game still registers this as a full character. So I'm romancing one person over here with this character, I'm romancing another with this character, getting completely different ends of the story. Baldur's Gate does that in multiplayer. I've never seen that. I've just never seen that. It is a complete and total new thing to me, and I think that's why it needs to be represented. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a competitor for Dead by Daylight. Really the only competitor. When you look out there, there's not a whole lot of asymmetrical horror games that have even remotely the success of Dead by Daylight other than Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They have done some absolutely abhorrent things. I don't want to talk about that here, though, because I want to keep this show positive. There are some things that I'm very unhappy with their decisions. And I don't play it anymore. But I will say this, I think it is a viable competitor to Dead by Daylight, especially if they shore up some of the issues they have with cheating and balancing. And just to be a competitor to that, like Dead by Daylight has that market. It's that. Can you think of any other successful asymmetrical versus games? Period. Like there's very few. Like it has that market. So for it to be a competitor, it should be on this list. Dead Island 2, out of nowhere, the fact that it exists, and not just the fact that it exists, because Duke Nukem Forever came out. We all remember what that looked like.
On sale after 2 weeks.
This was in development for 10 years, and it came out, and it was good. It was decent. Like, that's something right there, and I hear it is very fun with 2 players. I have not actually played Dead Island 2. I have played Warhammer Darktide. I reviewed it very positively on this channel. For the most part, I stand by that review. There are some things that I don't love about it that I realized after playing it for a few hours, but overall, it's a good game. It's a very, very much like Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood sort of thing, in my opinion, but with Warhammer, and the soundtrack is impeccable. So there we go. We've got all the awards. We got all the nominees. We talked about them. I am now going to hand them. I'm going to hand fill the proverbial envelope, and we can all announce that. I'm getting this. This is,
all of us
doesn't even look like an envelope.
Announced.
Handling it to
Throwing it.
Phil. Throwing it. Yeah, throwing it. There. I threw it.
Got it.
Perfectly.
Excellent.
Perfect. So, drum roll. The winner is
The winner for 2023's multiplayer experience of the year is Baldur's Gate 3.
Excellent. Yes.
All right. Fun with soundboard. That is great, though. Baldur's Gate, like I said, of the 4 of these, I would never consider Baldur's Gate 3 a multiplayer thing, but at the same time, it just does something with multiplayer that no other game has ever done before. I think that's where we've got to give it to them. Like, nobody's ever done that. The way you play that game, where basically the game is DMing for however many characters you brought in, I've never seen that in a game before, and that's just fucking amazing in my opinion. And hell, the Game Awards, Keeley's Fuckfest actually gave them the best multiplayer too. So, something to be said. What do you guys think of the winner?
Sellouts? Does that mean we're sellouts?
No, nobody gave us any money.
I honestly, it's a welcome surprise. It's definitely a welcome surprise. Like I'd mentioned, the fact that this game even has multiplayer, it was a shock to me, let alone the fact that being multiplayer that is like an actual good, solid multiplayer.
Yeah, I'm happy with the choice. The normal games that I would nominate for, this category just weren't up to par this year. Most of the shooters were just kind of blah, or just reposts of what they've been doing forever.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say Remnant 2, but I didn't even get to play that with anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we still need to do that.
Yeah, but I do want to play that with you. So there we go. Baldur's Gate 3 wins it, continuing its Wreckfest of all award shows. Including ours. Do you guys want to know the votes?
I'm sure it was a whole landslide.
It was unprecedented. And this is the one that surprised me, because Baldur's Gate 3 was in there, and I think it deserves the win for all the things we've said. But I was surprised it even made it in there, let alone it had 14 votes to win Best Multiplayer. Every other one in this category was tied with 3 votes.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a lot of domination this year, way more than we've ever had in the Horrible Game Awards ever. No category was dominated in such a way as this category. And this is just not the one I expected. Not at all. But there you guys go. We have done it. We have done the multiplayer award.
Impossible.
So anybody presenting gets the plug. So Phil Billy, anything special you want to plug, sir?
Yeah. So, speaking of Baldur's Gate multiplayer, please, guys, check out Baldur's Gate 3.3.0, and that is me and Zach playing through the game in multiplayer, as well as attempting to role play, our characters as if we were playing a TTRPG, trying to kind of bring both this channel's communities together, I suppose. And then also in the realm of TTRPG, if that's more your thing, or if you want to check it out, we have I'm involved in 2 that I think are very good and very entertaining. I even watch them back, and that would be a Astral Drive. That is, Zach is a DM, Wizard's Respite, Aether Dios, and myself, and that is based on Zach's single mod system, which you should also check out.
Itch.io, search single mod, $6. Go ahead.
There you go. And then also, we are also playing TMNT and Other Strangeness, and the players in that are Zach again as the DM, myself, Jackie, also known as, can't think of her gamer tag,
Hope Child,
and again Ash, Wizard's Respite, and that's a lot of crazy fun that it's a different feel than Astral Drive.
it's a very different feel.
It's fun though. It's a lot of fun. I play a conspiracy theorist crocodile. Basically, it's pretty fun. I'm basically Alex Jones in crocodile form.
Oh God.
I would say you're a little bit cooler than Alex Jones.
As somebody who has not seen that TMNT,
you should
you should check it out.
That was the one sentence plug. That was the
it
was like, okay, so now I gotta check it out.
Start with the Long Road campaign, and you're good to go.
Campaign.
Yeah. So check those out. And if you're a TTRPG fan, we've got a lot more stuff coming for you in 2024. Got 2 more actual play projects that we're working on right now. So it's gonna be a good year for TTRPGs. But for us, I'm not going to plug yet, and neither is Neil, because we're not done with this show. We're going to be right back with another award.
Best New IP.
All right, we are back with another award here at the Horrible Game Awards. That award is for New IP of 2023, just so that everybody knows this is one of the few awards we have on our list that actually is specific to the year. This is a new IP, something that has not been touched before. Sorry about the clip clapping. My dog has decided to suddenly do a hoedown behind me. Yeah, this is a brand new intellectual property of 2023. It can be a spin-off, but it can't be a sequel in any way, shape, or form. So, we are also joined by a celebrity presenter, somebody who's been with us for a very long time, one of my favorite people, Rain Dance Danny. Danny, how you doing?
I'm very cold. I'm very tired. How are you?
That's an accurate representation. I think I'm always cold and tired now, so I totally get it.
It's winter, isn't it? You're just always cold and tired and miserable.
Always. The only thing
and then there's those weirdos who love winter for some reason.
Those people, what are you doing? Those people are like, I would miss the snow. I'm like, what are you, out of your mind? It's
yes,
frozen
I miss
water.
shoveling my driveway every day.
Right.
Yep.
It's frozen water that falls from the sky. I want no part of it. No part. Well, we're here to present the award for Best New IP of 2023. So before we can chat about the nominations, Danny, you got to let us know what the nominations are. So go ahead and hit us with them.
Okie dokie. The nominations are Lies of P, Dave the Diver, Exoprimal, Pizza Tower. Oh, that's it.
I like
was
the
about
above.
to say the last bit. I was about to say the last bit.
I like that about the yeah. It's because I messaged you.
Yeah, I'm
That
like,
would've been-
okay, that's it.
It would have been a fun. It would have been a fun fifth one. All right, I'm starting the call.
All right, calling.
Who makes that? Is that an Xbox game? So this is a weird one for both of us, I think, because obviously you are a presenter, a valued presenter, but just the way the presentations fell and who got assigned what, and which hosts are here, I think for the most part, this is one of the ones I know the least amount, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones you know the least amount, so we're going to have to fumble through
Yeah.
this.
I was going to say I'm not familiar with many of the, like, I know of Lies of P. I've seen a bit of gameplay of it, and that is it, pretty much.
Yeah. I know all of these games. I'll say that. I have only actually played
They're
two of
definitely
these
games.
They're definitely games. So I'm gonna try and go through them, and you add in whatever you feel necessary to add in.
Okay.
Lies of P. It is a Bloodborne sort of a game all the way. You play Pinocchio in this like dystopian anime style Bloodborne whatever. It's really weird. I'm not a Bloodborne sort of guy. I don't subscribe to the games have to be super hard sort of side of gaming, but from everything I've seen, this was kind of a standout hit, a surprising hit that people have really enjoyed, you know?
Yeah, I was surprised to see everyone streaming it. That's actually how I know about it, just because suddenly everyone that I follow on Twitch just started streaming it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and we have a few community members who played it and were really into it, and I didn't think anybody I knew was going to play this, and now we find it nominated in new IP, so that's got to say something about it. I think that it is very interesting how good it is, especially in a year when everything's been kind of good. I think it's pretty. It says something that this has come out of nowhere. Honestly, I think this is the hardest category with how much stuff has gone good. Dave the Diver, I can speak to this one fully. I love this game. I put a ridiculous amount of hours in this game. I still haven't finished it just because of the sheer number of things that have come out. I plan on finishing it. I love Dave the Diver. It is a game about a fat deep sea diver who gets talked into going to this crazy lake that's constantly shifting and to run a sushi bar with a bunch of enigmatic characters. So the game is broken up into two halves. One half, it's all side-scrolling 2D, but one half you're swimming through the water, fishing with a harpoon gun, and then kind of bringing the fish back to then the other half selling the fish in the sushi bar and doing kind of restaurant management. And it's just, that sounds like a crazy, like two things connected. They work so well together. And then what's even more interesting about this game is that's not even the half of it, because just every time you start to get bored of it, it adds a new mechanic in. Like all of a sudden, now you've got a rice farm you've got to take care of, and it becomes a farming sim. And then now you've got like a fish hatchery where you can hatch your own fish, and then it becomes that sort of thing. And I think this game is so good, so much better than it has any right being.
Pretty much the only thing I can say about this game is I think it's very visually striking.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the way that it looks. I've never played it. I've seen people play it. I just love the way it looks. That's all I can say.
And that's fair. I think the humor here is really good too. There's very few times nowadays when I'm playing a game and I'm doing belly laughs, and this one made me kind of like chuckle quite a few times.
That's good.
Yeah. It's like the guy who upgrades guns in it is this like super weebo anime nerd. So like every time he works on your gun, it's this big like anime show sort of thing, but it's still just this dude in his underwear, like behind a computer screen. It's hysterical to me. So then Exoprimal. Exoprimal is another game I actually played. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. Exoprimal is from Capcom. One of their rare non-controversial successes. The story kind of was terrible. They did some weird stuff with the storytelling, but as a multiplayer game, it was a lot better than a lot of people thought it was going to be. Because this is the one where, like, you're in robot suits fighting dinosaurs, but it's a multiplayer game, and then it's team-based, and you're trying to race to the end against another team that you sometimes have to fight in the end. It's crazy. It's all over the place with what you do in the game. It definitely keeps it fresh that way. I like the wave-based shooter, then juxtaposition with the deathmatch at the very end. The robots were a lot of fun. Again, it also tries to tell a story within the multiplayer. That kind of falls flat for me because it's all over the place. But I thought it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
It definitely sounds like a fun premise. Just that robots and dinosaurs instantly. I'm like, I love that.
Yeah, and that's what got me in. And then they also add in a bunch of time travel to it, which is a little insane to me. And then a bunch of other things, like you're not even really fighting the dinosaurs. You're in like a virtual world. It's crazy. The storyline's batshit. But yeah, the robots versus dinosaurs aspect is really fun. And I thought that the robots were very fun to pilot. They all feel good. It's a nice multiplayer, and as far as a hero shooter kind of thing goes, it has enough variation that keeps it kind of like fresh the whole time. And then finally, Pizza Tower. Pizza Tower was a runaway indie hit this year. It was basically kind of somebody's homage to the old Wario Land games. You play this weird fat pizza guy, and he's got to go into these weird pizza places and get pizza ingredients, and basically this game is a platformer's dream sort of thing. It was very interestingly done. I've seen a few videos on it. I also watched the Game Grumps play it, which is where I have the experience from it. It looks fun, and I do like any time a company as small as this has a breakaway success, you know?
Yeah, so is that as soon as you said platform, I'm here for it. I love platforms, especially old school platforms. Great.
Yeah.
I can't say anything about this though because I hadn't heard about it until like 5 minutes ago.
It's really interesting. You should check it out on the internet just because it doesn't look like a lot of platformers. It's very momentum based, like almost like a Sonic would, but more about like how fast the character's moving versus what he's hitting. And then every level's interesting because you have to get to a certain point, but once you get to that point, you actually have to get out in a certain amount of time or the level gets destroyed, and there's different ways to get out than there was to get in. And that's just really cool. I like the dichotomy of like the level changes to another level halfway through, you know?
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, is there anything else you want to add? I know we were kind of out of our element here, but I think we did pretty good.
I honestly can't add anything. I think you did pretty good. I feel like a bit of a useless like fish right now, but
not at all. Not at all. Your opinion very much matters. But we are going to go ahead and hand you the proverbial envelope, and
okie dokie.
And then do the drum roll. So drum roll. All right, Danny. Which one's the winner?
The winner is Lies of P.
Lies of P won it this year.
Lies of P.
Congratulations. They go crazy in the Quantum Stadium.
Claps.
Yeah. I'm happy to see Lies of P win it.
Me too.
It's definitely not a game for me, but I think that it was a standout kind of hit, and I was going to be happy with just about anybody winning this category, but happy for Lies of P to win this. Do you want to hear the votes?
Yeah, go for it. I'm interested.
All right, so Lies of P obviously won it. They won it with 8 votes. Then runner up was 6 votes, which was the one that I wanted to win. Hey, it's okay. Dave the Diver. Then right behind it with 4 votes was Pizza Tower. And then with 3 votes was Exoprimal. And I think Exoprimal was held back by its weird kind of story stuff.
So All Right Calling didn't actually get any votes. That's sad.
So, Yes, all right calling was left out of the voting process. I think that's the next Sony exclusive. All right calling.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe next year then.
It's a Hideo Kojima joint. It sounds like one of his weird games. Danny, I want to personally thank you for coming on and presenting and being involved in all of the voting process, whatnot stuff. So is there anything you'd like to plug or shout out or anything?
I just really want to plug a shout out to tell people to just be nice to each other. Just be nice to each other, please. The world's already an awful place. Just be nice.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Be nice to each other is a great message. Thank you so much for being here, Danny, and doing this. I can't thank you enough. Everybody out there, you guys, we will be we'll be back with another award definitely in just a minute. Hello! We're back with another award, a big award here. This is Best Narration of 2023. Really excited to do this. I am not alone. My host compadre for this award is...
Yo, what's up, old man fam? Philbilly330.
the Buildmaster General. And then our presenter, our celebrity presenter, is here. He's part of our show for Astral Drive. He also has done some Twitch streaming in the past. He was also on our Star Trek show. Aether.
Good evening, everyone.
Really excited to have you. This is you're a first time presenter this year, right?
Happy to be here.
We're excited. We've got a couple of first-time presenters this year. You and old Grandpa Gamer. I'm excited about both of them. So we're doing narration. We're talking about the best narration of 2023. So this category is decided by games that were released in 2023 that are specifically story or narration driven. So without further ado. Celebrity presenter, will you please give us the nominees?
And this year's award for best narration in a video game, the nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy, Alan Wake 2, and The Devil in Me, the Dark Pictures Anthology.
Yeah, those Dark Pictures anthologies always make it into this category. So you're the presenter. You get to go first. What are your feelings about these? Have you played any of these? What do you think about them? What are your feelings about our nominees?
This year's awards are very difficult. Not to mention the sheer number of games that are going to be packing next year's awards because they came out in December. Most of them like tomorrow for some reason.
Yeah.
But this was a dense year for narration. I mean, pretty much everything. There are so many games that are just absolute narrator heavy.
Yeah. What are your thoughts there, Buildmaster?
Well, obviously, I'm a little biased in this one because I actually only played one of them.
That's fair.
But I thought the narration in BG3 was amazing all the way around. I mean, there was really no one in that game did poorly, and as far as voice actors go, but the narration of I forget what her name was, but
Amelia Tyler.
Yeah, there you go. She did an awesome job, which she came back from Divinity Original Sin 2. And maybe even the first one, I'm not sure. Hogwarts Legacy, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played a lot of these games, so I can't comment directly on them. I know they were all... Well, I don't know anything about Devil in Me, but I know both Hogwarts and Alan Wake 2 were well-received games, so... I can only assume that the narration went along with that.
As far as I'm concerned, I played 2 of these games. I'm very aware of Alan Wake 2. Devil in Me is kind of a dark horse for me. No pun intended. I don't usually follow the Dark Pictures anthologies, but I swear, I think every year, with the exception of the first year, but all of our awards were really weird the first year because we didn't know what we were doing. I think every year we've had like a Dark Pictures somewhere on a list somewhere for narration, I feel like. So no surprise there that it's there. Alan Wake 2, nothing that comes from Remedy and that team and Sam Lake is going to be not just crazy narrative. I mean, Max Payne and Max Payne 2 were source games for me when it comes to gaming. Used to worship the ground those walks on. I did play all the way through Control. I did play all the way through Alan Wake. I haven't played Alan Wake 2 though. But I'm sure it is more of the same narration wise. Hogwarts Legacy, I think one of the biggest reasons it's on here is because it's not a train wreck. Like, I think everybody kind of expected Hogwarts Legacy to be a train wreck, and then when it came out and it was good, I think it overextended a lot of expectations for people. But it is a very narrative game. I would have liked a couple of more choices in the narrative on Hogwarts, but again, Hogwarts was very, very big with our community this year. And then, of course, Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is like the story of the year. It's very interesting to me when you look at years that have just astronomical amounts of games. There's always one that like somehow also crushes all of the other ones. And we just had a great year for gaming, but Baldur's Gate 3 is the only thing people talk about right now. And I think it's just one of those things where it's almost like the baseball hands going up the bat until you get to the top one. So I don't know. All right. Does anybody else have any further comments on our nominees before we go to the winner?
I mean, I've played all of these.
Oh, all of them. Okay.
I played an awful lot of the broader nominees. And you know, I'm as the reader, I'm gonna limit my feedback, but I'm pretty biased on a lot of these. I would like to. I think you'd really enjoy Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
I think it's very much a mashup of Control and Alan Wake 1, so they really kind of refined their sense, but also absolutely swung for the fences as if they were an indie dev, for better and worse. So that at least keeps things competitive.
Yeah.
And the list of faults of Baldur's Gate is minuscule.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's one of those you don't want to. They just walk. It's one of those. Baldur's Gate walks into a room and everyone goes, "Oh boy, here we go." So it's going to be interesting to see how all the awards play out.
Yeah.
But again, they're all really tough, and I'm kind of lukewarm myself on the Dark Pictures. I'm more the original stuff. And then the remakes, like The Quarry. I think that really hits that style a little bit punchier, but also there's so much. They're so consistent in their acting, and especially, even if you dislike the series, the guide will chew terabytes of scenery every game, and you can't miss it. It's tough.
Yeah, we had two performance nominees for The Quarry last year, so yeah, those things always make it in. It's also, to me, that's like the definition of narration, is to have that kind of like choose your own movie sort of thing. Like that's narration at its fullest. I think Baldur's Gate 3, there's definitely a couple of, now that I'm almost done with my first official playthrough, I would say that there's a couple of things about the story that I don't particularly love. And as far as like the downsides, you definitely notice some in Act 3, especially on the performance side, but we're not really looking at performance for this award. We're looking at more of the narration, and I think Baldur's Gate 3 just does an amazing job of making you feel like, and I don't get this feeling often when I play games, but making you feel like you're your character. And there's few games for me where like I actually feel like I'm interacting with the world. Skyrim was really the last one that I felt like I was interacting with the world. Like I was actually there, you know. Baldur's Gate 3 makes me feel like I am in the moment. I'm not playing another character. I'm playing my character. I'm telling my story, and that's something that's rare nowadays, you know.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm here. I'm can't wait to see who our winner is.
All right, well let me grab this envelope here and hand you the proverbial envelope. All right, I'll do it this way. Yes, everybody, it was just a piece of paper. That's what happened. All right, so the winner is drumroll.
This year's winner for the category of Best Narration is Baldur's Gate 3, everyone.
Yes.
A round of applause. Surprising no one.
Oh, no. Neil didn't do that because I yelled at him beforehand. So you're the first one to do that. We found the soundboard at the last podcast we recorded, so now it's going to be a thing.
As a bonus award for this, I would recommend everyone after the show to go check out YouTube and listen to our beloved Baldur's Gate 3 narrator reading your down bad tweets about the cast of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
She's hysterical. I've definitely seen her doing some stuff. I think this is a good win. I think that personally, Baldur's Gate 3, the way they tell the way they're able to tell a cohesive story with very little continuity breaks when you're making crazy batshit choices all over the place surprises me. I've only caught them 2 or 3 times. There was one the other day that's egregious in Act 3 that I can't wait to tell Philbilly about when he gets to that part. But there's very few. You know what I mean? And that's impressive to me. The level of choice versus the amount of flow that it has after you make just nut job choices is very cool. So I'm glad to see them win this one.
And not just that, her delivery of carries such a sense of how the pause and then flowery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
slightly,
like the feeling of the time in the game.
Yeah.
But it's like when you do something really stupid in a tabletop game, it ruins the game master's plan. But they have to roll with it and give you sort of a backhanded compliment for your doing. She gets that tone that your game masters will give. Perfect. It gives the perfect sense of that. And as much as I was rooting for Alan Wake, I hope they have a chance in other categories. And but it was tough.
Honestly, this year's weird. I don't think we've ever in 5 years had a game dominate the nominations like this. Like, we've never had a game be nominated this many times in this many categories, like, ever. Like,
it's rare that there's ever a game that everyone on the panel likes.
And I think both of you can attest to this. The panel selection, I spend a lot of time on the panel selection. Obviously, the foundation is always in the panel, which is myself, Philbilly, and Neil, which already you have 3 completely different players looking at it. And I try very hard to pick those 8 to 10 people for the panel. Like, I don't always pick our biggest fans. Sometimes I pick people who are like, this person has a completely different take on things. That's why they're in there. Like, I pick the selection based on kind of how wide a selection I can get. I think that's been very evident through the awards ceremony up until this year. I think it's to your point, Phil. It's just everybody. It doesn't matter what you like. You're going to end up liking this game or at least respecting it.
Yeah, even the people that maybe didn't even try to play it. It's such a big thing that you can't not hear about it and either respect the developer or, you know, the choices they made or whatever it might be.
So you guys want to hear the votes?
Yeah.
It's pretty dominant. It's pretty dominant in this category. We had 12 votes for Baldur's Gate, which is pretty astronomical. That's pretty dominant. That's another thing. I don't think I've ever seen 12 votes for a game in one single category in any previous year.
Usually 8 is high.
8's high, yeah. Second highest was Alan Wake, which again, I think this year, second place is almost like getting an award yourself, with 5 votes. Then we had...
I mean, just being nominated is a massive award. There's
this
so
year,
many nominees for this category that were so strong and that number 5 slot is... They're still fighting in the aisles for that one.
It was incredibly hard to do all of the nominations this year because usually what we have is, because the way we do it is everybody nominates... everybody can nominate up to 3 games for each category on the panel. But a lot of times you get, like, repeats, and the repeats are how I decide what's going to be the actual nominees going forward. This year, every area had something like 10 or 12 different nominations, which is just, like, blew my mind. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this many, had to make lists this big. Usually it takes me 2 pages to write down everybody in my notebook. I have 8 pages just dedicated to nominations that I had to copy down. And it's crazy this year. So then, of course, we had a tie for 3rd place and 4th place, obviously, at 3 votes with Hogwarts Legacy and Devil in Me. So there you go. There's narration. Before we wrap this segment up, Aether, is there anything you'd like to plug, sir?
I am not actively building anything at the moment, but I will say Astro Drive will be back in the beginning of the year. The Turtles are still going. Yes, I believe.
Thank you for plugging in a different show.
I still catch your show.
Oh, thank you.
It's good, and our gotta love Wiz and everything else, and I will. I'll see y'all again next year.
Yes. Astro Drive returns on the 3rd, everybody. The 3rd is our planned return date for Season 2 of Astro Drive. So we can find out how everybody immediately dies 10 minutes into the game via gunfights. I want to say specifically thank you, Aether, for doing this. I appreciate you being on here. I know this is your first time. This thing, everything we do is kind of for the people who listen. So I really appreciate you being here and getting involved.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, everyone.
All right, everybody. That's narration. We will be right back with another award. I don't know what that is because you guys all know I film these randomly and then we just stuff them together. So we'll see you with another award in a second.
Best Gaming Developer.
Our next award is the Best Developer of 2023. This is a developer who is recognized specifically for their contributions to gaming in the year of 2023. But we have a special presenter here. I would say he is probably the podcast's biggest fan. I mean, I think you and Jason would have arguments to be the biggest fan at this point. Though I think Jason listens to it more to make fun of me. But William Hohen, hello, welcome.
Hi! Exclamation point.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm definitely a big fan. Watched all the episodes, went back to the first one, listened to them all. So You're an important part of my daily work.
That's
My
it.
work day. Yeah.
That's quite a feat because when we started the show, we were doing it with our phones, and it does not sound great. But
That was a bit rough, but I wanted to get the whole picture, as the biggest fan.
you could definitely watch us grow through that thing. But this is your second year presenting. Really happy to have you here. Sorry the other two guys couldn't make it, just scheduling conflicts for this specific presentation. But we're so happy you're here, and I specifically selected this category for you to present for very, very good reason. But before we get into that reason, we've got to give the nominees. So William Huon, without further ado, why don't you tell us who is our nominees?
All right, so for this year, the nominees for the best developer are Larian Studios, Gunfire, Avalanche, and Even Kais.
Okay.
These are the nominees.
Those are the nominees. I think we should start with Even Kais because that's the one that he's basically the reason I picked you for this present to be the presenter for this year's Developer of the Year. So talk about Even a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. I chose Even because he's one dude. His whole development company is one dude, and it's him. And he made a game called Afterplace. It's currently only available on mobile through a one-paid fee. You buy the game, you get the game. There's no mobile stuff.
Right.
Shit. Okay, it's not a mobile game. It's a game on mobile.
Right.
And it's an open world game. It's like Zelda, the old Zelda. And Even used to be a big fan of Game Boy, and his game is played in portrait mode. I mean, now he made it available in landscape mode, but it was developed to be in portrait mode, and you hold your phone like you would a Game Boy.
Oh, that's cool.
And it works. It works very well. And anyway, I picked him because he made the whole game himself. And when we say the whole game, I don't mean only the coding. He made the art, he made the story, he made the music, he made everything. And it's an overall fantastic package. It is right now working on porting the game on for PC and consoles. And nominated him to try to bring some awareness to Afterplace. Fantastic game, really.
And Afterplace also got its start on the Apple Arcade, which I would argue is a little bit more like games. Like it's mobile, but it's much more games for mobile.
It's not available on Apple Arcade.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed.
Yeah, it's fine. Just wanted to.
I'm just so used to you doing Apple Arcade stuff.
I know. I do a lot of Apple Arcade stuff.
I'll cut this out. No, I'm just kidding. I don't cut anything out. We all know I don't cut anything out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But anyway, that was my plug. Go look him up. Go look the game up. It's great, and hopefully it'll be up on other platforms soon, because I know playing on phone is not for it's not everyone's cup of tea. So
I was really happy to get this guy on the nominations list, honestly. And I was very excited to see a one-person developer on the nominations list. I will say, I like the way our award show goes. I like the fact that we're not bloated. We have a kind of a limited amount of awards, and everybody's playing on the same ballpark with them. And because we go to our specific community, which is a very weird, random, off-the-wall community, we tend to have games from all different walks, from your pixel games to the big boys. This year, a lot of the big boys definitely came in full force, but with that said, I don't think we've ever recognized a one-person developer before, and so this is kind of a first here at the Horrible Game Awards, that we're actually recognizing a person who's just a one-person team, who's just like true indie through and through, who's making a game. So I was really excited to put him on the list.
I'm glad he made it.
Yeah,
I'm very glad. Yeah.
Obviously, let's talk about the other ones though. Larian, we got to talk about Larian. I mean, who doesn't know what they did? They did Baldur's Gate 3, which set the world on fire. I know you haven't gotten a chance to play it. I can't seem to stop playing it. I'm just every day I get on and I want to play something else, and I just end up playing that again. It's just such a well done game, and I don't even like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I haven't played it because I don't have any systems that can do it, but definitely looked it up. I don't want to spoil myself the whole game, so I'm not watching like full playthroughs, but I've seen enough to know how good of a game it is. And as a big fan of the first two Baldur's Gate, it's definitely high on my list of games to play once I upgrade my stuff. So yeah, I know what the game is about.
I'm not gonna lie, playing this makes me want to go back and play the first two. I never actually played the first two. So
they're
this is
amazing.
This is kind of new territory for me. Then of course Gunfire Games, they came out with Remnant 2, which I think is one of the best sequels right out the bat from an indie company. Very rarely do you see a game just be exactly better than the first game, and I think they did a really good job with this. And I think they came out of left field with it. I don't think there was as much hype on it as normally, and they still managed to come in a year when there is a lot of stuff and actually manage to shake some things up.
I haven't played this one either, but I know quite a bit about Remnant 2, and I don't remember the name of the guy, but one of the lead designer of the game went to talk about games with Rurikhan. I don't know if you know Rurikhn.
That sounds really familiar.
He's on YouTube. He's a Portuguese guy that speaks English like a native. It's crazy, but anyway, and the lead, I think he's the lead designer. It's a higher up position in the Remnant 2 dev team, and he went to talk with him for quite a few hours actually. And I've listened to the video, and the dude plays a lot of games. He's definitely a gamer. He talks about games. He loves games. He's not just a suit producing games. He's a gamer, and it was fantastic to hear him talk about Remnant 2 and how he made it, how he designed it. So anyway,
that's really awesome. I love when you have a gamer that feels like they really care. You know, I mean, honestly, even Larian seems to really care about their game.
Oh, they really care. Yeah.
I love that. And you can always tell. You can always tell in the gameplay, you know, between like a good game and something somebody's just trying to make money off of. And then finally, Avalanche. I think Avalanche is no doubt that Hogwarts Legacy was huge within our community this year, so I'm not surprised to see them here. I don't know that personally I would have put them on this list, but I will say one thing. Everybody expected Hogwarts Legacy to be a flaming disaster, myself included. I believe even my broadcast partner Neil had his reservations about it. It was one of Phil Billy's predictions this year, or last year, that it was going to be a nightmare. And it wasn't. It was a good game. By all accounts, it was a good game. I actually think it kind of got snubbed by the Game Awards a little bit by not being nominated anywhere.
No nomination at all. It was, well, they had to make some space for Starfield, you know.
Right? They still managed to get that in one of them, didn't they?
They had to remove Hogwarts to make some room for Starfield. So this is what happened.
I will say I'm very happy with my community because Starfield didn't end up anywhere on our list, which made me very happy.
This is what happens when you hype something for 10 years.
Yep.
You can only end up with disappointment.
Exactly. All right. So without further ado, let's figure out who the winner is. So. As per se usual, I am handing Will the envelope as it
All right.
were, as we always do here, because we're in person. We're not on the internet, even though you can see us on the internet. But
Yes, of course.
so go ahead, drum roll.
All right.
Wow.
So the winner for this year, best developer, is Larian Studios. So yeah, I mean, congrats to Larian, and I am not super surprised, but I am happy. I think they did a fantastic job, and to be honest, it's not their first time that
No.
they do a fantastic job.
Not
The
at all.
Divinity series is quite
Yes.
amazing.
Divinity
So,
is big, and I actually think that how good Baldur's Gate has done, because I've started to see the videos on Divinity start to come back. People doing new videos on Divinity recently. I almost feel like Baldur's Gate, its success has brought people back to Larian's other properties, which could be really interesting for them in the future.
Yes, it actually brought people back to CRPG as
Yeah.
as a genre. It
Yeah.
was that big. So
they did so much with that with one game. It's hard not to recognize them for that. I mean, not only did it bring a movement back to CRPGs, but it also was so good that other AAA game developers scrambled to tell people that that their games weren't going to be that good, to like let them out easy, like this isn't the future of gaming. Like they literally upset the balance of power in gaming, which, and I think it's even more interesting because yes, they did spend a ton of money making that game, but everybody gives them like, oh, they got money from Wizards of the Coast. They actually had to pay D&D to allow them to make the game in the first place. So like what they did was a true accomplishment. Shook the foundations of gaming, in my opinion, in a way that hasn't happened in a long time. You know, not positive anyway.
yeah, and saying like, oh, it was good because they got money. Oh yeah, well, there's other big companies that got a lot of money and throw out garbage. So it's not it's not money. It's passion that made this work. Definitely. And I've watched a few of their how do they call it, the panel from hell.
Oh,
is that how they were calling it?
So.
And
I think so. Yeah.
Those devs, they were dressing up, and they're passionate.
They're very passionate.
This.
Yes. Whether you love them or hate them, they love this game. They loved working on it, and you can really see that hard work pay off. But do you want to find out the votes? Because I think you will.
Yes, of course.
I think you'll be very happy with the votes and how they shook out. So obviously Larian won. They won with a relatively commanding lead. 9 votes for Larian was cast, which is a lot for this. However, the second place, the runner-up, was Evan Kais with 6 votes.
Well, that's not too bad, actually.
Not too bad at all.
Yeah.
Not too bad
for
at
the
all.
smallest game, it's pretty. I'm quite happy about it. Seems not only me recognize, the work.
I think
from this dude.
I think the fact that he got nominated forced a lot of our committee members to kind of go look him up, and then once they looked him up, they were like, "Oh yeah, he definitely deserves a vote," which I think really speaks to how much I love my our community. Gunfire got 4 votes. They were third place, and then finally Avalanche with 3 votes at the end. I think all these developers did really great this year. I was really happy to see even Evan Kais get second place, though. I feel like that's almost, in a year when Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, I think that's almost an award in itself,
Yeah, completely agree.
All right, well, I want to thank you for helping us out, for presenting. I appreciate you being a fan and commenting on just about every episode we've ever produced. And I just, got to give you your due, man. Well, what do you want to plug? What do you want to talk about here?
Well, on Wednesday morning, you should go to Old Man Gaming channel and listen to the podcast episode. This is great. This is great stuff. And I like since a few months, you've been covering less news and more. You've been talking more about games, and I think it's a good change. I like getting some news. It's nice to keep it up to date with what's happening. But yeah, you're definitely less angry now. And while I like angry Zach, it's I think it's for the best, and it makes the podcast more of an evergreen content that you can listen even if it's a few months old, because it will still be relevant. So
I appreciate those
Yeah.
words. I
Good
will
job.
say that this change definitely needed to happen for my mental stability and my ability to continue to do this podcast in the future. But I also want to say to everybody out there, William is being way too humble. He has a huge YouTube channel, which I think may have more subscribers than me at this point. You should
Not
check him out on
yet.
YouTube.
Not
William
yet.
Hohen. He does all sorts of weird kind of niche games. I'd love to go to his channel and check it out. I can't wait till that TMNT game comes out on,
dude,
on
this is so
anything
good.
other than Apple Arcade.
Oh man, this is good.
He has a great podcast with his buddy Gru, and I listen to them regularly. Go check him out if you're watching this. And Will, thank you again for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. It was a great time.
Always. And everybody, we will be back with probably different presenters and hosts and a different award. We'll be right back.
Best single player gaming experience.
Another award coming your way, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Horrible Game Awards. Of course, the foundation, the Triforce, we take the big awards for ourselves. Please forgive us on that one. And this award, I'm joined by co-host.
Yo, Phil Billy 330 here as the co-host right now.
And then we are joined by celebrity presenter, my podcast co-host, the eternal whipping boy for the Lasso 3, a top tiny wizard.
Yes, a
Well-
tiny wizard.
Welcome to the show, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Well, and this award we are doing today, you always take this award in contrast to Phil Billy taking the best multiplayer. You take best single player experience of 2023. And we got a lot to talk about because I think this is one of the only categories in which Baldur's Gate 3 was not nominated.
Which is weird.
Which
And
is
it was-
definitely weird.
It was very weird, and it is highly contested in this one because of that. So, why don't you go ahead and give us the nominees so we can talk about it?
All right, so the nominees for the best single player game of 2023, we are looking at Dave the Diver, Hogwarts Legacy, Lies of P, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Celebrity presenter, take it away, man. Everything you want to tell us.
This is a very interesting category. Of course, given the fact that the single player thing is kind of my forte, I at least have experience with 2 of the games, and the other 2 are on my I want to play list. Very obviously, Tears of the Kingdom, one that we've talked about ad nauseum on the podcast, is one that, of course, I got day one, and it was fantastic. Well, I mean, I haven't finished it, to be fair. I intentionally peeled myself away from it so that I still have more to go later. May come back to that soon. But Tears of the Kingdom, as controversial of an opinion it may be on the podcast, I think was an excellent follow-up to Breath of the Wild in that it just gave you more of what worked. Carried some stuff over that was still a little controversial, but it is what it is in that case. Hogwarts Legacy was a game that was, I remember whenever it had initially leaked in like a play test fashion that they were doing. And it was something that everybody was like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if? And sure enough, it was like 2-3 years later, it actually came out. And it was much larger than I was anticipating it being. Now, I did not end up finishing it, but it is actually one of the few games that my wife rolled credits on. So she herself did finish this game. So that Hogwarts Legacy feels straight up and down like a Harry Potter movie. From everything from like the writing, the music, the atmosphere, everything. Lies of P is one of those that it's been on my keep an eye out for it list for a while, because it's a very interesting idea in adapting Pinocchio into Dark Souls style gameplay, with a very, sort of its own little stylized twist on everything. It looks very entertaining. I just am not I'm not a Soulsy guy, so I don't know how well I would be able to get through that. And then Dave the Diver, I'm always down for a good indie game, especially one that I know for a while you had been definitely on about for a while.
Still love it.
Just the art style and everything was so interesting to me. And it had been up for a couple of the Keighley Fuckfest Awards too. So I mean, it wasn't just like quote unquote just an indie game. It stepped out and kind of did its own thing.
Phil, your thoughts?
Story of my year. It's been a crazy year for me. So I actually know of and am familiar with all of these games, but have played none of them. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I've never been. I'm the oddball that's never been huge on Zelda or open world, so it kind of that one's kind of not my thing. But obviously it's a Zelda game. It did well. Hogwarts Legacy, I really want to play. It's on my backlist, which I have a lot of games on my backlist, and judging by what I've seen coming down the pipe next year, that's probably not a bad thing, because I might get time to do that. Dave the Diver, indie game, not exactly my forte as far as like, not that I'm a graphics snob, but
right.
It's that kind of game, but it's very impressive game. Seeing, wasn't that one made by one dude?
No, it actually turns out that it's a big company. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a.
It looks like an indie, but it's a big company. I mean, still, it's a good game. I'm not going to knock it, but it was a big company.
And then Lies of P is another one that I would like to play. Although from the people I've talked to, as far as Souls games go, it's a very difficult Souls game from what I understand.
God, it's a hard Souls game? Jesus Christ.
That's what some of the guys in the garage group have told me. But I would like to play it. It looks really cool. I do like the mechanics of Souls games. They're a lot like the Monster Hunter mechanics as far as like attacking and dodging and parrying and all that. Haven't actually played one, would love to, and that looks like one that is interesting to me. So I mean, I'm happy with everything on this list. I just don't have a lot of personal experience myself with them, so I will hand that one off to Zach.
Yay! Alright, well, again, I've played 3 out of the 4 of these. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 2 out of the 4 of these this time. I'm very aware of Zelda, though. I watch Game Grumps, and Game Grumps are almost through the game at this point. I do want to say something right up front about the contention that Neil brought up on the podcast. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was the result of probably one of my most negative and psychotic rants on the podcast.
The structure of the podcast.
To the point where we changed the structure of the podcast. I do want to say up front, though, that's not necessarily because of the game itself. It's because of the game versus how they sold the game, how they marketed the game, how they presented the game, that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Like, I do think this is a solid sequel to Zelda. I do. My biggest problem with it was how they were screwing us over with money and space on your hard drive and stuff like that. That was my issues with it back in the day. It wasn't necessarily because the game itself is the worst game ever. I think that it's a sequel. It's a sequel. It takes a lot from the old one and adds more. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't necessarily think it doesn't deserve awards on a gameplay standpoint. It's just the way that the company tried to give it to us was where all my rage was coming from. On the subject of the other ones, Hogwarts Legacy, we all thought that was going to suck multiple times. It was one of Phil Billy's predictions. The fact that it's good right off the bat is something, and I do think it's not one I finished. I will probably never roll credits on that one. I'm going to play it here and there with my wife and whatever, but it definitely makes you feel like you're in Harry Potter. There's no question. Like, it makes you feel like you're making a character in the Harry Potter world, you know? Lies of P, solid Soulsborne sort of game. I'm not a Souls person either. However, a lot of our community members are. A lot of our community members really enjoyed this game. So no doubt, no surprise that it's there. And then Dave the Diver was my kind of breakout hit. It was a random impulse buy that I made one night because I was just out of stuff to play before all the big games hit. And I love that game. It is a game where you play a fat diver. It's two-dimensional. You go into a procedurally generated ocean. You fish to then at night run a sushi bar with a bunch of crazy characters. The game has so much stuff in it is what blows my mind. Like, every time you think you're done, it adds another mechanic. Like, oh, you're getting slightly bored of the sushi fishing? Now you run a rice farm. Oh, you're getting a little bit bored of that? Now you have a fish hatchery. And then the actual writing on that game made me laugh. There's so few games like that make me laugh, but it's just got this over-the-top cartoonish style to the cutscenes that just made me giggle every time. So that's it. That's all I have to say about those four. But so I have to now give the proverbial envelope to our friend here, our presenter here, Neil. I'm going to toss it to you. I have tossed it to you. There you go.
I don't have paper.
All right,
I don't have paper.
Just pretend. Just reach your hand off and grab for something. Ruin the bit.
Okay.
Ruin the bit.
I've got the bit. I've got it.
All right. So the winner
is
drum roll.
Lies of P.
Lies of P. I was very surprised with this.
Very surprised on that one.
Very surprised.
Nice.
Very surprised on that one.
I like being surprised. I think
the soundboard's the best fucking thing ever.
I think that I'm happy to be surprised this year because this year we'll get into it later, but this year has been very dominated, and so I'm kind of glad. I was very surprised by this one. It was a highly contested category, highly contested, but I wish I had more to say about Lies of P. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play it, but I'm really happy that it's a surprise to me. I would love to see Dave win it, but I didn't think for a second that was going to happen. So I think I'm the only person in the entirety of our community anywhere that played that game. Just the fact that it made it in surprised me.
Yeah, especially a game that I remember when it was first announced.
Looks so stupid.
Everybody was like, Pinocchio Dark Souls? Get out of here.
Looks so dumb to me.
And it really was like, the concept was like, okay, I'm sure somebody's going to enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who, but cool beans. And as time has gone on, it's evolved into something that's like, it almost has like a Final Fantasy vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's really impressive what it pulled off.
Yeah. Anything to add, Phil?
No, I mean, good for Liza P. I, as I said, I'd like to play it sometime. It looks interesting to me.
Would you guys like to hear the votes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, question. Who do you guys think was going to win this, just offhand?
I honestly thought
curious.
it would be Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Phil?
that's a fair assessment. I would have thought so too, just because, you know, it's a Zelda game.
Yeah, I think if Baldur's Gate had released in a different year, I think we would have been having the conversation about Tears of the Kingdom being the game of the year.
So, I have some interesting words here. I did not agree. I thought the winner of this was going to be clearly Hogwarts Legacy from the fact that our community as a whole played that game the most, you know? I didn't think Tears of the Kingdom would get it just because, much like Dave the Diver, I think you're the only person who played Tears of the Kingdom in the entirety of our community. I don't think anybody else played it, man. From us, from our grouping, I don't think anybody else played it. So the winner was Liza P with 8 votes. The runner-up had 7 votes, and that was Hogwarts Legacy. It was 1 vote separate. Dave the Diver was 3rd place with 5 votes, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was 4th place with 3 votes. And again, I think it does come down to, I try and sparse out our committee as much as humanly possible.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I can only sparse it out. Like, it's still our community, and I don't think anybody in our community played Tears of the Kingdom other than you. And I think that hurts it a bit.
No, that's okay. I mean, I remember explicitly when Tears of the Kingdom first came out. I brought it to work with me. So that day on lunch break, instead of eating, I was playing, and you had messaged me. You had messaged me and asked how the game was. And I was like, man, it's so good. It's so great. This, that, and the other. And your response was, I think it's just because it's the new shiny thing. That said, I mean, there's your own personal goggles that you wear of what is good. And then there's opening your eyes to something that can objectively be more better. Mo gooder.
I don't think any of these games didn't deserve to be here.
And that's the thing is, it's been a progression over the year, because when the year started, Hogwarts Legacy was the shit, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Big open world Harry Potter game, and then it was Tears of the Kingdom, and then by the end of the year, it was Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, and a few other usurpers in between. I agree. There is something to be said about it. I think it's very interesting. But that is best single player. So, A Tiny Wizard, would you like to plug anything? This is your designated plug time.
Oh, God. Well, I'm not even going to bother mentioning the podcast, because you wouldn't be here otherwise if you didn't know about the podcast. So there's that. We did do... I guess now we can say
it'll
past
be final.
tense.
Yeah, it'll be
Oh,
over.
God. That's weird to think about. We did
The trials have ended.
Redfall Down. We are going to, at some point, get around to doing some sort of new sort of streamy thing at some point. I don't know if it's going to be a whole long play like we did with that, but a little bit more rotation and variety before we pop off into
case by case basis. But yeah, I think next one we'll go back to the streaming random shit here and there. I really want to try Party Animals with you. There's a couple other things I'd love to try with you and Kayla that I think would just make for a really fun time. So we will probably do some streams, and then I think, like I said, case by case basis. I'm gonna tell you right now, if there was a way for all three of us to play Baldur's Gate, I would say let's play Baldur's Gate because that would be just as fun, you know.
There is if I get it on PC.
Yeah.
You can't play multiplayer with split screen though, can you?
No, that's what I'm saying. Is we have it for the PS5.
Yeah, but there's
I
no
could
crossplay.
There's no crossplay.
There's no
No.
crossplay. It's cross save, but no crossplay. It's a big conversation because a lot of my friends
Sucks.
they just came out on Xbox. A lot of my friends got on
Yeah.
Xbox. I'm like, I can't play with you. Like, there's no way for me to play with you.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah,
I thought it had crossplay.
it does
I
not.
guess it's just
it is
cross
one of
save.
the big cons of Baldur's
I-
Gate 3.
I knew it didn't. I just never thought about it. The group.
Yeah, because they're all Xbox people. All right, we will be back in a second with another award.
Best Gaming Soundtrack.
All right, that brings us to our next award here at the Horrible Game Awards. Your hosts currently are myself, Zachariah, and...
Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
Neil, aka Tiny Wizard, is here with me in the host, but we are joined by a very special presenter, the third member of the Lasso 3, the other person to go willingly with us through Redfall. God bless your soul. But Kayla Simpson, welcome back.
Hello. I am not mentally well.
That's
No.
the greatest lead in. It's like, hi, how you doing? My name's Kayla. I'm not mentally well, so be careful what you say around me.
I
How
mean,
you doing?
in fairness, you're in good company here. I don't think anybody who listens to this show nor participates in this show could not find that word, man. Could not find that word. Is mentally well. So I think you're.
Also,
I think
anyone
you're right.
willing to go through Redfall.
Mentally
is
in
not.
hell.
We're it, man. We're it. We're the top 1% there. But we're not talking about Redfall here today, guys. We are talking about
Anywhere at all.
the best gaming soundtrack of 2023. I want to congratulate Kayla because this is the first time. I believe this is the first time she has not been relegated to the Best Developer Award.
I don't have to nominate Obsidian for something.
Obsidian was not nominated. They were real bitches this year. They were real bitches this year, so they didn't get nominated.
It's funny you bring that up because I don't know if we're gonna mention it later down the line. Like, it's weird because Obsidian was every single year, I believe, nominated for something up until this year.
We do not mention it, mainly because the Developer Award, I don't know if this is going to be first or after it, so I'm not sure, but the Developer Award presenter was William Houen, and he had nominated a very specific developer, so he really wanted to talk about that developer, so I kind of left the time for that. So we didn't really talk about Obsidian. So yeah, there was no Obsidian this year. But we all remember Obsidian was the first people to jump on the Baldur's Gate 3 isn't the bar for gaming bandwagon. So
Yes.
so Obsidian, that's what you get. This third-rate podcast show does not nominate you. That's your punishment right there. Continue swimming around in your money a la McDuck style. All right. So we are doing best soundtrack, but we're going to talk about all the soundtrack nominees. There's a lot of good game soundtracks this year. I'm very interested about this category since I've seen the behind the scenes on everything that's about to happen. But before we could get into that fun stuff, we got to talk about nominations. So, celebrity presenter Kayla Simpson, the magnificent Kayla Simpson, the third member of the Lasso 3, the person who casually posts on X every once in a while. Can you go ahead and give us the nominees?
The nominees for Best Soundtrack are Warhammer Darktide, Hogwarts Legacy, Baldur's Gate 3, and River City Girls 2.
Yes. love this category. This category for me was one of the hardest to vote on. I think we're all going to talk about it in a second in individual games, but these are 3 amazing soundtracks, just top to bottom, phenomenal musics in all 3 of these.
There's 4.
So one of them actually sucks.
No, I'm sorry. It is 4.
There's that one.
It is 4 phenomenal
Three great ones,
soundtracks.
and then there's that one.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake, but I was looking at the number 3. I made a mistake, but all 4 of these were phenomenal soundtracks that I can't wait to talk about. But Kaylee, you want to talk about it first? What are your thoughts on some of these soundtracks?
So I feel pretty biased because I've only played 2 of the games on this list.
That's fair.
But I kind of feel like both games, because I played Hogwarts Legacy and Baldur's Gate, I kind of feel like both soundtracks were pretty similar. But I really enjoyed them. I feel like it captures what's happening in the moments very well.
I thought Hogwarts was much more whimsical, and I like that. You could literally lap up the whimsy like milk in a cereal bowl in the soundtrack of Hogwarts. It was just a lot of like flutes and oboes in there, and it was just I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Tiny Wizard, your thoughts?
So I really enjoyed the soundtrack for Hogwarts Legacy because it definitely felt like they composed that soundtrack to be almost like one of the movies.
Right.
Because the movies have such an iconic score, and everything felt like as it should, like it was in place. Baldur's Gate 3, the soundtrack for Baldur's Gate 3, we actually alluded a little bit to this. It is like woven into the game itself. There's one little side quest in particular where you're saving a child from harpies. The harpy song turns into the battle music.
Yeah.
And then there's that main theme that's just kind of woven into everything, be it like a slowed down orchestral or like a more like even just in like the loading screen or when you're doing the character creation.
Mm-hmm.
River City Girls 2, I only played it once with you, but that that soundtrack, it very much fits that upbeat pace.
Sorry, I said
like,
3 when I meant 4. It's fine.
That's yeah.
It's that kind of day.
Mine was much less egregious. But no, it fits that upbeat pace of what they're trying to present to you in like the city when you're going through the levels, when you're going through areas, and then when fights kick up, it really kicks up kind of the tempo and makes you feel like almost like you in your combat are a part of the soundtrack itself. The only one I don't have any experience with on this one is Warhammer Dark Tide, but I can only imagine, given the subject material, it's absolutely epic.
So my thoughts, I think of the 3 of us, I'm the only person who has actually played a substantial amount of all 4 of these games. Hogwarts Legacy is great. It's really captures the Harry Potter feel, and I'm not even a Harry Potter fan, but it just captures that magical music from the movie. Baldur's Gate 3, I can't help but agree with you on that. And you left out my favorite part, which is if you have a bard on your team, you can at any time just start playing music during the fight, and it will change the fight music to what the bard is playing during the fight.
What?
Yes. It's
so we don't have
fucking
a bard,
amazing.
So...
Yeah, if you have a bard, there's always an action, and it's a free action. Doesn't count a bonus. It doesn't count as a normal action. You can end a turn anytime and just start playing fucking music. And literally, I will just have a bard like playing a violin while my barbarian is just wailing on somebody. It's a lot of fun. I love the way they do that with the soundtrack. Musically, they're very adept. Everything they do with the bard is cool because the bard will... you can actually pick like 4 or 5 different musical instruments with the bard, and then once you pick the the instrument, it also changes the songs that you have available to play as the bard, and it'll change the music. Like, it's not just like a musical tone, like just a benign musical tone. Like, when you go to cast Bardic Inspiration, for say, like, you'll pull out your violin, it'll make a violin riff, and then you'll hit the person with it. And I think that's really cool. Like, they do that really well. River City Girls is hands down nostalgic, but also current, chick punk rock all the way. It just kicks ass. It is it's a great mesh of like just old school like rock, but to that brawler beat 'em up while also putting words to it. It's just great. I can listen to that soundtrack start to finish without skipping it. I love that soundtrack. And then Warhammer Darktide was a surprise one for me. It was kind of a dark horse because it's a multiplayer game. I wasn't expecting much out of it. There's not usually a soundtrack to those kind of games, but it has this like gothic synth, kind of like doom metal, but without the metal part. And it's just like really like hard pumping like goth synth, and it just like it was the best part of my experience with the game. To be honest, didn't actually like that game very much after I played enough of it. Ended up just kind of feeling like a Left 4 Dead clone to me. But the music was so good. Like, absolutely stuck out with me. So, with all of that out of the way, I think it's time to announce the winner. Which surprised me, to say the least. So I'm going to hand Kayla the proverbial envelope. So this is me picking up a piece of paper, handing it through to Kayla. It's now in front of her magically.
Oh my goodness!
Power of the Quantum Studio.
Wow.
And so the winner is.
Budget this year.
Yeah, we did. I got a piece of paper. It's not even an envelope. It's just a piece of paper that I picked up.
And the winner for best soundtrack of 2023 is Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. These are all segmented, so it's hard to talk about all the results, but Baldur's Gate 3 is a game of a century. I'm not going to lie, I don't know that I would have picked this as a winner, but the community resoundingly picked this as the soundtrack winner. And I think that that overall, I do really like how they did that influx of the music, and that the soundtrack was really interwoven into the game.
That's the thing, is like music always, like, the purpose of music is to make you feel something or amplify an experience, and that's the thing. They nailed that 100%.
Yeah, they did. So you guys want to know what the votes were?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so the overwhelming winner was Baldur's Gate 3 with 12 votes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. The dogs are very unhappy with this decision. Second place was Darktide with 7 votes. They're just pissed. They wanted Darktide to win. And then River City Girls was 4. Hogwarts Legacy only got 2 votes. So, yeah, it was rough. It was rough. Baldur's Gate 3.
On Hogwarts Legacy.
I don't think anybody hated on it. I mean, it's nominated in a lot of categories. I think there's a theme this year, and we're gonna see it as the awards. I don't want to spoil anything because we record these things segmented, but there's definitely a theme this year, which I don't think we've ever had before. So there we go. There's best soundtrack. I want to really quickly say thank you, Kayla, for doing this, and also continuing to do the Lasso 3 and putting up with Neil and just all the ridiculousness that Neil brings to the table. Is there anything you would like to plug?
I am legally bound to him, so I have no choice.
Well, that's your own mistake there, Kayla. We love you, Neil.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to plug there, Kayla?
Oh, God.
No, I'm boring. There's nothing exciting. We're not recording anything at the moment, so
No.
I have nothing going on.
Well, I will go ahead and plug for her Redfall Down. Please don't let our struggles, specifically her struggles, be for naught. The show continues until the weekend before Christmas.
It's not done posting.
It's not done posting yet. So, and then the Lasso 3 will return in some form or fashion. I really kind of want to play Party Animals with you guys.
I do too.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fun.
There was actually another thing that I needed to talk to you about that I brought an idea up, but you're the one that has to be on board with it.
Oh
It was
no!
on another podcast.
Oh no! Yeah, I think
because
it
I
was.
listen to the podcast.
She
I
does.
just didn't know.
She
Yeah.
does. She commented
I definitely
on
don't- I
the
definitely
last
don't
one, I think.
listen I don't listen.
But
to
I
all of
listen
them.
to every podcast.
Guys, we gotta wrap
I'm
this
a
one up.
Real fan.
No one questions your fandom. You're a real fan because you come on, do shows, and put up with us. Now I've got
Neil's not a
sirens in
real
the background.
fan.
No,
Fake
Neil
fan.
is definitely not a real fan. He just work here. That's definitely like
just work here.
He just work here. That's it. All right. Thank you, Kayla, again for being here. We will be back with another award, ladies and gentlemen, right after this.
Best Performance in Gaming.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to another award here at the Horrible Game Awards, and this is actually a couple of firsts here, because our next presenter, you're actually going to see this person sitting directly next to me, which has never happened in the history of the Game Awards. This is the first live award that's being done. So, but without further ado, Grandpa Gamer, welcome.
It's nice to be here. You know, taking a little break from kicking your ass. It'd be nice to present an award to somebody other than myself, so happy to be here.
Grandpa Gamer is, of course, talking about OMGM. Grandpa Gamer is from the channel where me and him book in GM mode against each other, and I regret my choices in life. So thank you for being here, Grandpa.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
This award is for Best Performance in Gaming in the year 2023. So to get nominated for this award, it is specifically for voice actors or mocap specialists who were in a game that released this year.
Yes.
This is where we are. So if you want to go ahead and read the nominees, we can get into talking about it.
I will be delighted to read the nominees for 2023. The first up, we have Amelia Tyler, narrator, Baldur's Gate 3. Still waiting to play that myself, but, you know, Xbox, sorry. Master Race and all. Second, we've got Nicolas Cage. I mean, I don't even know why you want to continue the list. It's Nicolas Cage. But then again, I don't even know if he should be on the list, because is he really acting? Third up, we've got Samantha Burt.
Karlach.
Wow. Also Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate's definitely gotten a lot of big buzz, I've heard. Still waiting. And, of course, we've got Kane Hodder, the mocap himself for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Leather.
A small, noisy pest with a bushy tail. You cannot imagine what purpose such a creature could possibly serve. You follow the squirrel's gaze to a pair of clumsy, ugly feet. Your own, on her territory.
Hell yeah! Someone please! So what we don't do is separate. Like in the movies. Bad idea. Really bad idea. I'm pretty sure this isn't real. I'm tripping, aren't I? What is going on here? Anyone? Someone want to fill me in? Ow! Ow! Fucking ow! Not liking the vibe here. Not one bit. And I'm out of here! Okay. No. Whatever you're going through, I get it. You're angry. You need a release. I'm telling you, this isn't the way. I'm completely and totally and utterly cow-tit fucked. See ya never. Help! Get control.
Venice was never my home. It was my prison. I'm free now. And I'm never going back! Fuck them. Fuck Thariel. I won't go back. I'm never going back. And if any of Mummy's little friends want to pick up where the others left off, they'll find nothing but a pile of ash.
Time to get your fix. It's the Horrible Gaming Awards.
Leatherface specifically.
Leatherface only.
So I do want to say you definitely read those different than anybody has ever read them in the history of the game. Most people just read them and then we talk about them.
Well, that's stupid.
Nonetheless, yeah, I could not echo more of what you thought here. Kane Hodder is specifically, I want to talk about him first. He's specifically the mocap for Leatherface. I think he did a great job of making it feel like the old horror Leatherface movie character was in this game. I think he did a killer job. He does the dance.
But just voice wise, yes.
Yeah.
I definitely think he nailed it. I mean, well, he is who he is, you know? He's got a lot of feathers under that cap of his.
Yes.
And he does it well.
As far as Baldur's Gate 3, we have never, in the history of Horrible Game Awards, and this is a theme from all the awards I've recorded so far, and probably will be for all the awards further, never been so dominated by a game here at the Horrible Game Awards. When I said this on a different award, but when I pick the group, the council, basically, the committee to do the awards, I specifically pick people from very different walks of the gaming sphere. So for Baldur's Gate to be so nominated, I think it's nominated in some way, shape, or form for just about every award we have but one.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
For it to be, and then 2 performance. I do want to talk about them because I have had experience with them. Amelia Tyler does the narration. She basically is the voice of the game master for the game. So if the game has a game master, it's Amelia Tyler. So she does this amazing thing where everything she describes or everything you see, you get this description from her. Any history check you pass, that's who's reading it to you.
It's almost like you can see it.
Yeah, and she breathes life into it. She breathes life into a game master role,
which would be great. That's what GMs are supposed to do.
Yes,
or DMs, whatever you want to call them.
And then Samantha Burt plays Karlach. I am so glad she got nominated because Karlach is my one true love in Baldur's Gate. I would leave my wife for she's a fictional demon lady. I think we're safe. But Karlach is amazing. I love Karlach. I think that the voice, I would say many people have said that the story of Karlach is very one note, which I wouldn't necessarily disagree with, like the companion story. But I think the voice acting from Samantha Burt is amazing here because she has to constantly deal with the character's impending doom while being the most upbeat and uplifting character in a lot of ways. And I think that she does a really good job riding that line. So I'm glad that she was nominated. Then let's talk about Nicolas Cage.
Do we even need to? I mean, that man. I mean, I will say I did get his most recent movie, the Hitman one. It was alright.
It was alright.
It was.
It wasn't.
It was almost like a, for lack of better terminology, right now, a poor man's Fubar with Arnold.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't as good as I expected it to be.
It had its moments, but like I was like, I could have written this better. I think
it was just weird.
Yeah,
but,
and you could tell that Nicolas Cage was doing his best too. I appreciated that, but I will say this: Nicolas Cage could have walked into that booth for a video game because I don't know that Nicolas Cage even plays video games. I think he's on record as not playing video games. He could have walked into that booth for this video game and just said some lines and walked out and collected a paycheck. I listened to the lines. I haven't actually played with Nicolas Cage yet in Dead by Daylight, but I did copious amounts of research when he was nominated. There's actually like you can find on YouTube just a whole, it's like, I think it's 40 minutes. It's just every line he says in the game. They're just batshit crazy. Just the most insane shit.
And given the scenario, it makes perfect sense.
And like he did not phone it in. He walked in there and was like, Nicolas Cage, and it was truly good. So that's it. That's all I have to say about him. Are you ready to maybe read our winner and tell everybody who our best performance is?
I mean, I don't know. Should we give them a minute to dial in their votes?
No, their votes are dialed in. It's been dialed in. I'm going to proverbially hand him the envelope that's not just a folded up index card piece of paper.
Which is great, except that I can't really read, so...
You'll figure it out.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do the drum roll.
You can do that several places. The winner of the 2023 Horrible Game Awards for performance is... Do you know who it is? I know who it is. You shouldn't know, because I have the envelope right here. It's still sealed.
I sealed the envelope, though.
Oh, man. I think we can get him on the show? Nicolas Cage, buddy. You,
Right.
of course.
Right. Get him up here to present.
Hell yeah. I mean, Nicolas Cage is always on par.
Yeah.
He's had some rough patches, but you know what? I think like the older and crazier he gets, it's almost like the better.
The thing is he's one of those guys who's taken his rough patches and turned them into strengths. Like like the bees thing. Remember how like the bees, not the bees, like was a whole meme where it was like this guy's acting is terrible, and somehow now it's like the only thing anybody wants to copy.
I don't want to overstep too much, but I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Nicolas Cage created memes.
He
really did.
He may have. I'm totally okay with this.
I'm definitely solid. I mean, not having played Baldur's Gate does hurt a little bit, but it's Nicolas Cage, man. Nick Cage.
Look, all of these people had solid performances. I will say I'm very glad to give an award to something that's not Baldur's Gate. That's for sure. And I think if anybody deserves it, it's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, because I'm sure Baldur's Gate's going to be around many other categories as the winner.
Well, and what's weird about the way we do our award system is experience, multiplayer, single player. Those are all ongoing categories. Like our big ones are ongoing categories. So if Baldur's Gate releases DLC next year, which it most likely will, we're probably going to be seeing it on a lot of award lists again.
True that.
Baldur's Gate is a beast of a game.
Hell, you know what? Honestly, Cyberpunk may even make a return. Never. It's had some huge updates.
I lobby so hard against it. It was actually nominated by a couple people this year.
See?
It just didn't have enough repeat nominations to make any list. This year was pretty stacked as far as gaming goes.
Well, there were some really heavyweights in the ring.
Yes. But Nicolas Cage did an amazing job here. Happy to give him the performance award. Do you want to know what the votes were on this one? Because this was by far our closest.
Really?
Yes. Absolutely by far our closest award in the votes count. In fact, it was decided by a single vote. Everybody in this nomination award was at 5, and Nicolas Cage got one more than that at 6. We have never had an award be that close, ever. We've had it be within like 1, 2, and 3 and stuff like that. Never had an award be a 4-way tie and then win by one vote.
Nicolas Cage isn't here, is he? Is he like? Did you like let him vote for himself?
I would have. If Nicolas Cage is a fan of this fucking channel, you can be in all our committees, most certainly. I'll pander. I'll pull a Jeff Keighley. All the way. So, yeah, there was no award more highly contested than this one. That's how close all of these guys were to winning.
I mean, no, credits to the others. Nicolas Cage is a fighter.
Yes, he is. So that's it. Jeremy, would you, Jeremy/Grandpa Gamer, is there anything you'd like to plug? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and give a shout out to those guys running the OMG. I love it. You guys should pop over to that if you ever get a chance. Sorry, I am what you will never be in true greatness. And I'm humble, too.
Yeah, totally humble. Why did I do a show with this man? But yes, OMGM, we literally have more content there. Either one of us could die before all the content that we've created has come out.
Very true.
Like we're about to record 4 more episodes and we were already through March.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so watch OMGM. We're really happy to do that. And then of course, you guys come back here for anything else. We will be back with potentially another award or the end of the show. I don't know yet.
Best gaming experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Moment you've all been waiting for. The main event, so to speak. Just the foundation here. The Triforce complete. There is no celebrity presenter. It's just us. And by us, who do I mean? I mean podcast co-host Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
We are all celebrities here.
And the Buildmaster General, Phil Billy 330.
What's up?
All right, so this is it, guys. Experience of the year. This is our big award. This is our final award. This is the culmination in gaming, so to speak, of this year for our community and us. And yeah, we've got 4 good ones in my opinion, and we're gonna talk about them real quick. Neil, why don't you read them off?
So the nominees for Experience of the Year, we have Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy, Remnant 2, and Armored Core 6.
The Fires of Rubicon, longest title. That should get the longest title of the year award.
What's that, Armored Core?
Yeah, because it's got that colon, The Fires of Rubicon.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that they're doing with game names now.
It is a very weird
Instead of just saying 2, 3, yeah.
So, what do we think about these games? Let's go to Phil first.
Again, only played one of these, know of all of them, own Remnant 2, and just haven't gotten into it yet. That's definitely first on my backlist to play. I loved Remnant from Ashes, the first one. So I'm excited to get into that. I know it was a well-received game. I know it did well, and I like that company and that Souls-esque shooter. Really cool genre to me. As far as Hogwarts Legacy, again, another one I would really like to play. Know a good bit about it, but haven't had the opportunity. Armored Core 6, I remember everyone being so excited when that game was getting ready to come out, and then it came out, and I just didn't hear too much about it. I don't know if that was just because, the way that, YouTube and stuff filters things through an algorithm to you. So maybe it was. I never heard anything good or bad about it. So I can't comment much on that. And then Baldur's Gate 3 obviously was my personal game of the year, probably of my favorite game I've ever played. I really enjoy it. I love the fact that I could talk to Zach and Neil about that game, and they could have no idea what I'm talking about, even though we all three played the same game, because that's how diverse the choices and just what you even see in the game. Like, Zach has beat the game, I haven't, but my Act 1 knowledge is completely different and more vast than his, just because of choices that he made along the way. And I think that's really cool and lends itself to be a very worthy contender of Game of the Year. It's one Game of the Year and many other. I think the Joystick Awards it won Game of the Year, and the Fuckfest, as you guys call it,
the double F
as well. So yeah, that's really all I gotta say.
Neil, what do you think?
I think that this lineup here, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts Legacy, Remnant 2, Armored Core 6, while it's been running through this here, I only have experience with 2 of them. That said, I know at least Armored Core was one of those games that when it got announced, people lost their whole minds. From a franchise that had been relatively dormant for a while, out of the blue, guess what? FromSoft has a new game that's not a Soulsy game. It's a big old fighting robot game. I think that's very interesting. Remnant is one of those that while I have not played it, hearing you guys kind of describe like what it is, sounds like something that is an interesting sort of twist on the looter shooter genre. And then, of course, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts Legacy, these games, we had alluded earlier, because I'm assuming this is the last segment.
Yes,
we had Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I figured. We had alluded earlier that as time has gone on through this year, the Game of the Year contender has progressively changed with the new heavy hitter game coming out. And the fact that Hogwarts Legacy and Baldur's Gate both showed up on at least my personal, wow, this could be the Game of the Year list, it's fantastic. This has just been an absolute stellar year for games.
Yeah, I echo that. It has been a stellar year, to the point where it's culminated in this absolute beast of a game called Baldur's Gate 3. There are some bugs. I definitely encountered some in Act 3. There are a couple of story issues I have. But overall, there's nothing that game does that isn't the best that it does. Like, it does the combat the best. It does the character creation the best. It does the multiplayer the best. It does the choices the best. It truly makes you feel like you're in the game, like you're the character in the game. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've experienced that in a game. And, Phil pointed out that I've beaten the game. I don't even call it beating the game. I call it completing my character's story arc, because there's just no way to beat that game. There's so much stuff I know I missed that people talk about. There's characters that, like, I killed that apparently you can romance. Like, stuff like that just, like, it keeps popping up. And, like, I think maybe I've completed the game and maybe I've seen 10% of it. It's just such an achievement. On the subject of the other ones, Hogwarts Legacy, great game. Actually makes you feel like you're in the Harry Potter world. I think that it was very, very popular with our community this year, which is one of the reasons it showed up in so many places. And I'm happy to see it. I mean, I think that, again, it's a game that everybody kind of had written off a little bit, especially us, and really showed up. Remnant 2. If Baldur's Gate 3 hadn't come out, Remnant 2 would be, I would be fighting with everyone and their brother to get that thing on every award that I possibly could. I nominated it in a lot of places. This is the only place it actually managed to show up just via nominations, but I love that game. Amazing soundtrack, amazing story, great mechanics, very little bugs, very little issues. Like, the game was just phenomenal out the gate. And you just don't get that. And I don't like Soulsborne and those sorts of games. And I love Remnant 2. Even when it was challenging, it's just so interesting that it brings you in. The other thing about Remnant 2 that I'll say, especially in looter shooters, is they tend to have the worst, shittiest boss designs. Like, especially like the newer Borderlands and stuff like that. Their bosses rely a lot on iframes or invincibility states and shit like that. Hell, you saw some of that with Redfall when we were playing that, Neil. And it's just, a lot of looter shooters are like that. The bosses in this game are truly interesting. They have really cool mechanics that you have to learn in order to beat. And I just thought that was really good. And then Armored Core 6, I did not play. But, again, I heard plenty about it, and all of it was positive stuff. I do think it got buried by much bigger name releases at the end of the day, but it was a very solid experience. I don't hear anybody who complains about it anyway. I don't think anybody has a problem with that game. Everybody who's played it has enjoyed it. I think these are 4 solid contenders to the throne. But only one person can sit upon that throne, so I'm going to proverbially hand the envelope to Phil Billy this year so that he can read out the winner. Drumroll.
And this year's, for all the marbles, Old Man Gaming Game of the Year winner is none other than Baldur's Gate 3. Duck quacking.
Quacks work. Quacks work. I am very happy with this. I'm very happy with this award. I do have some closing thoughts about some things, but before we get to that, let's talk about the award. This is obviously the game of the year, right? Like, we're all in unison on this, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not often that the popular, like, general consensus outside of this podcast and the podcast community, and this community itself lines up in such a way for the experiencing, the best game of the year, and it actually did this time.
To be fair, though, it's not often that this type of game would be considered by anyone else as a game of the year.
That's also true.
A CRPG is such a, in general, niche
not anymore
genre. Which that's what I was gonna say. That's what's awesome. It almost excites, because I love CRPGs. It almost excites me more that a CRPG won, because I feel like it will give the genre a chance.
Yeah.
Like even if it's not as good of a game as Baldur's Gate 3 was, the future is going to be much more open to the genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Wasteland 3, for instance, had every right to be in a contendership for the year that it came out as a game of the year contender. If that were to release, if a game like that were to release from now on, it might get the shot.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say something real quick. It's funny you bring that up, because I think we mentioned this not too long ago, but I'll say it again here. I went ahead and wishlisted Divinity 2 on Steam.
Love it. You both would love it. It's actually, it's arguably, it's not better from a writing perspective. It's still good, but choice in writing, Baldur's Gate 3 takes the cake. But from a combat perspective, it's arguably better if you prefer like AC points as opposed to D&D's stuff, which sometimes I do. You know, as far as action economy goes in combat.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I've often said one of my biggest letdowns for Baldur's Gate was how connected it was to D&D. It took me a very long time to like adjust my brain to that level of thinking in the CRPG. It's weird too, because then I just started playing War Tales, and that feels completely different to me. It feels like the older CRPGs that I've played before, and then I was like, wait, where's my bonus action? Oh wait, I don't have that in this. I think that like I'm gonna say this right now, since we're in these closing thoughts, and we're at best experience, and you guys have not been there for all of the awards. You have been there for some of the awards. We have never, in the history, this is our 5th year doing an award show, 4 years doing it with the same categories after me and Neil kind of
figured it out.
Yeah. We have never had a game dominate
like
in
this.
the way that this has. It has won so many awards. It's won more awards in one show than any other game has. It has been nominated more times than any other game has. It is literally nominated in all of the categories we have but 2. If you count Larian...
One of which being the single player.
Yeah, but even then, in performance, it's nominated twice. 2 different performers. The game was absolutely nominated. We've never had a year where it's been a foregone conclusion at the end. Like, can you guys remember a year where we've gotten to experience and it hasn't been like a general question mark as to what the game is going to be? This is the first time for me that I feel like we've been dominated to this. It's almost anticlimactic, almost.
It's also the only year, I think, to my knowledge, where all 3 of us, I'm pretty sure, at least cast 1 vote for that game, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would 100% agree.
And I honestly think that right there really kind of cements it.
Yes.
All three of us play very different games.
Yes.
There's a little bit of overlap here and there, but we all have our little niche thing. Yet, this game hit all of us. And I would venture to say, if not the 100% the top game of ours this year, at least definitely in the top 3. Like, I know, like I'd mentioned before I played this game, it was Tears of the Kingdom, but this was immediate that. That was Baldur's Gate.
Same for me, but with Remnant 2. I think if we are the Triforce, Baldur's Gate is Link, and he has brought us together, because I can't remember ever in our history the three of us going, it's definitely this one. Like,
oh yeah,
without
no,
question.
Never.
I'm so glad that, because Neil and I tend to play completely different games, and I've always wanted Neil to give a CRPG a chance, so I had something to talk, because I know he loves narrative, and most CRPGs do have great narratives. But so I'm really glad that Neil bought this game, because I feel like now it'll be easier in the future for me.
Oh my God.
Like, hey, try this.
Like,
Philbilly and Neil. It brought Philbilly and Neil together. This is this is truly a game among games.
Like 100% too. Like, this is my jam, and that's part of the reason too why I'm looking at Divinity. I'm waiting for Divinity 2 to go on sale, because I want to make sure that it's a CRPG thing and not the D&D thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it is, though. But
oh yeah, 100%. This sort of game falls very well within my sort of wheelhouse.
So, do you guys want to know the votes on this bad boy?
It had to have been pretty nasty. I'm guessing.
Surprisingly, it was not as dominant as multiplayer. Multiplayer was by far the most dominant brutality there was, followed up by soundtrack. But this one, Baldur's Gate, had 9 votes. Hogwarts Legacy and Remnant 2 tied for second place with 5 votes. And then Armored Core 6 had 2 votes to wrap it up. So Baldur's Gate 3, that's the story of this year. But we're all done. And I don't want to do any plugs this week. We've already done our individual plugs other than me, and I plug enough for everybody. So here's just what I want to say. I want to say every year, this is our 5th year. We are half a decade into this channel.
Say that. Don't say it like
into
that.
This
oh,
channel,
God.
into this podcast. And the only reason, and we just hit 400 subscribers.
Oh, no shit.
No shit. We're at like 401 now. And
oh my God.
I think I just want to say that this show, this Horrible Game Award show, is really, it's a thank you to you guys. Like, that's why it's up to you guys. I pick a committee. The committee that I pick is spread out between the people who watch this show and enjoy this channel and enjoy everything us 3 idiots have to offer. And yeah, it's the only reason we're able to do it is because of you people out there watching, subscribing, liking, enjoying it, participating. And I just want to say, when I started this channel 5 years ago, never thought we'd be here at this point. And while I know it's not some runaway success or anything, it is truly an honor and humbling to me to know that 400 people even thought it was worth it to click a button. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for another year that you have allowed us to do something we absolutely love.
It's a success. You got Taco Bell with ad revenue.
Right? That was Anchor, though. I didn't get it via YouTube.
Hey man. It's all, you made money from it. Enough to feed yourself one time.
There you go. I do want to thank everybody that presented this year. Aether, Dios, William Houen, Danny, Raindance Danny, and of course, Grandpa Gamer, Jeremy, and then you two gentlemen. I'd like to thank both of you because you guys have been along for this ride in one way or another for the last 5 years. It's been an honor. Through our ups, our downs, our disagreements, and our agreements, and our craziness, we have somehow managed to be still here doing this shit show, and I really thank you guys. Couldn't do it without you guys next to me.
Faux show.
Been fun.
Final credits. I want to thank my brother for doing the music for this show. I want to thank Mark Bell for doing the next 10 years of graphics for Horrible Game Awards, just changing the year every time. And then I do want to thank my lovely wife, Melissa Van Sliders, for doing all the lovely presentation of like the voice you hear on this show specifically when like we're going into the next award, like best gaming experience, whatever. That's Melissa. I make her do it. so that's my wife. I want to thank her.
Wait, do you
for
make
doing
her
that.
re-record it every single year?
Yeah, because it's a different year. She does it every year.
She says.
Because she says the year in each one. Yeah.
Oh.
Watch the show. I'm serious. I'm sitting here thanking you for being my partner. Can't even watch our biggest show of the year. Ridiculous. All right. So again, we'll see you guys in 2024. Thank you for sticking with us. And yeah, for everybody here, that's another Horrible Game Awards in the books. You guys can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. And as long as you keep watching and listening, God willing, we will keep making them. See you guys next year.
Time to get your fix. It's the Horrible Gaming Awards.